heads of government is a very big achievement. It is the first time it has ever happened in the history of the Republic of Kenya. To get a president is not easy to come to your country. So that means President William Ruto is highly respected. Just like now, Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka has respected Conrad by coming to this meeting. So let's be proud of that. Sometimes when you go to to meetings internationally, you hear they say, for that issue, speak to Senegal. Another issue, speak to... But on this one, it's the first time that we are seeing Africa speaking in one voice. It's an extremely important step milestone. Remember, we have not had as many presidents coming to visit Kenya, as the way it has been done here. So we are making good progress. Anne Kanyi, really, you've asked a very good question. The best way to do so, to take advantage of AfCOFTA, Africa Free Continental Trade Area, is to be prepared ourselves. Because even if the continent was to be open for everyone, if you are not prepared, then somebody will have you, for dinner. So the issue is about industrialization, is about local production, is about even value addition of products from other countries. And I believe that incentive is very clear, and there are some very good concessions that have been made, even in terms of production of special economic zones. So yes, we cannot just be leading by opening up our borders, but we must also be the ones to actually develop these products to sell. Let me give you statistics. Sometimes 2 or 3 years ago, we were getting about 199,000 containers in with products, largely from China. Only 10,000 were going back with goods. Now that's not good, because then what is the value of the SGR? We have to really produce ourselves. And it boils down to you having your small little industry and trying to find a market through the open African countries. Now, with Kista, this was not my question, but allow me to answer you. We must always be peddlers of hope. That is what Barack Hussein Obama said. Because if you try something once, and then you don't succeed, and then you throw your hands and move on, what will you have benefited from? Hope is what keeps us going. And for the youth of Kenya, that must always be the clarion call. For Mr. Mike Hissa, the only way we are going to industrialize is again through local production. And you can see there is a very clear attempt of having county-based products. Ghana is doing it, one industry per district. There are 50 of them. We hope and believe that we can pilot and do that. That's why you have the KIPES, Country Industrial Parks, and I think I saw my good friend P.S. Susan Mangeni. She can speak more about that. By the way, Susan and I were at some point the youngest ODM youth in the NEC under Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Yes, I was 24, she was 25. It's good to say that. So dreams are valid. Today she's a PS, today I'm government spokesperson. Yeah, it's good to say that. So the issues around also technology transfer, Mike. Remember today, Kenya is earning more from remittances than coffee or tea. So when you have many unskilled workers going out there, they are giving us money, and this government wants to raise that up to $1 billion, about $10 billion, about $1 trillion or so. And so that means we'll also have now skilled labor to bring about technology transfer. At some point, India did so. They had 20 million Indians in the diaspora. They were able to send not only money, but also they were able to give skills that were able to industrialize India. So we follow that. Dr. Elise, I agree with you. It's very important to benefit from the refugee human capital. And you can see a lot of Burundians actually doing vinyozis and that kind of work around. I can see a lot of them. So maybe that needs to be revised so that you don't have concentration camps that are not, that just recipient. I think because of this free idea of Africans moving is something that may need to be reviewed, and maybe you can help us in seeing how that can be processed. Then my friend, George Kisaka, thank you. Mambo ni matatu. Mambo ni matatu. Na mambo ni matatu. Mambo ni matatu kupigana na ufisadi. It's basically about fighting corruption and cartelism, clientelism, and rent seeking, so that we emancipate ourselves from this scourge. If you look at South Africa, a great country, the one thing that has made that country not progress as it should is state capture. We still have that same problem here. Then the issue, Joseph Owino, I agree with you, my brother. You are the chairman of ANSAC, the Union of All Students with Disabilities in Universities and Colleges. Thank you for that. This $500 threshold is an East African customs regulations. And I've engaged Mr. Watanga of KRA. We have had conversations. That law is going to be reviewed because the standard is $10,000. I just came this morning. I didn't see that traffic. But of course, you'll increasingly see us speaking from the same point of view because we must deliver as one. But for those who are harassed for this reason, we really want to give our apologies because if you do so, then you dissuade Kenyans from, you dissuade tourists from coming to Kenya. Yeah, and then, yes, Ben Odhiambo, I think I've answered your question. The fallback position is to industrialize, to raise it from 7% of the current GDP to 20%, and that way then we will be able to do so. And let me tell you, because Ben Odhiambo, there is what we call the power of showing up. Waswahili wanasema, mgaga na upwa hali wali mkavu. Hatuwezi tukatoka bure. We'll get something. Even as we are crafty, we know what we want. Nobody knows everything, but we'll get out with something the more we engage. So basically, Rose, our policy is economic diplomacy, and you'll increasingly see the president having professionals as diplomats so that we can benefit from what each and every country where we have an embassy or a high commission or consulate can offer to Kenyans. So ladies and gentlemen, I would really want to finish by saying thank you very much. This has been a very engaging conversation. May we continue to be patriotic to our nation and country, because after all is said and done, we have only one country. The success of the future does not lie in the mere passing of time and change, but in the little dosages of change that we make today, here and now. Kenya is great. Kenya shall rise. Kenya shall win. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. We've been having this conference since yesterday, Transforming a Nation Conference 2023, and how all citizens can really benefit from democracy and economic transformation. And at this session, I was engaging from the far end. I want to usher you out. At the far end, we've been speaking with Onchari Oyeyo, and he is the International Relations and Governance expert. We've also, next to him, spoke with Honorable Maina Karobia, Member of Parliament, East African Legislative Assembly, Yala. Government spokesperson was also here with us. And finally, Mr. Collins Odhiambo, Deputy CEO, Law Society of Kenya. Round of applause for our special panelists this afternoon. All right, and it's been an engaging two-day session. We've learned a lot this afternoon. We've learned that the government says that Kenya is not facing east or west. The government spokesperson saying that they are using the Tanga model internationally because it worked for them, while the experts feel that the flip-flopping is not good for this nation. So that's what we've been able to have. And without wasting so much time, we want now, and that actually brings us to the end of our panel discussions for this two-day conference that started yesterday and comes to a close today. So the next session is just a few speeches on what our leaders think about what can really be done to transform our nation through democracy and also economic transformation. And before I welcome Honorable Gitonga Mukunji, who is the Member of Parliament, Manyata constituency, it's my pleasure, before that, it's my pleasure to welcome PS Susan Mangeni. She's the Principal Secretary for MSMEs, to make her remarks on what she thinks can be done to transform the nations and have our citizens benefit from it. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. The former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the former Vice President, and my very good friend, His Excellency Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, the organizers of this event, led by the foundation, the leaders who are here, members of the diplomatic corps, wananchi wazalendo, good afternoon. God is good and all the time. Thank you. You see, the government spokesperson has already spoken on behalf of us all. And so not run into those moments where we contradict each other. I'll try as much as possible to be just very brief. I look at the program. I was supposed to have been here in the morning. I want to apologize. I think there was a breakdown in the communication, so I want to apologize. But I would really have loved to have been here during the panel discussion so that we engage more and I get to field some of questions. The government spokesperson, one thing that you did not say, it is true, but there's some statements which I cannot confirm and neither can I deny. However, one particular commonality that I know around that time was that we were young in the ODM movement during that many years ago. I don't know how many they are now. But I can also confirm that there was an opportunity to nominate some young people, and I was ahead of you on the nomination list to Parliament. But I think Baba loved you most and preferred you, and that's how I missed being in Parliament. So you should have said that. So you must always thank Baba because he went ahead, for reason which I think he knew, but probably it was a better decision that he made because he knew we can always wait and get an opportunity. So I just want to take very few minutes from my subsector, which is MSME development, and just also offer some few insights on the theme, transforming a nation. I just saw something there, transforming a nation. For me, it's about transforming our pockets. I look at it from, we are not just transforming a nation, we are transforming our pockets. We want to see how we can put money in our pockets because that's the most biting challenge that we have as a nation, as a continent, and probably as the world. The reason why, for the first time, we are having renewed focus and attention on the MSME sector is because we have come to realize that the most biting challenge which we have, the challenge of young people, the unemployment of our young people, given that we are a young nation in terms of population, can only be solved if we enable that sector to grow, to expand, and to create jobs. I come from the precinct that with a potential workforce of 20 million Kenyans, only 3.5 million are engaged formally, are in formal employment. Out of 3.5 million Kenyans, only less than 1 million, between 950 to 1 million there, are in civil service. 2.5 million are in private sector. To me, what does that means to us and to the government and to the people of Kenya is that we have no space left in the civil service to create formal jobs. The only space we have is in the private sector. How do we crowd in our population, especially at the bottom of the economic pyramid, into the MSME space and therefore expand the private sector to create for us those jobs that we are yearning for our young people? That's why I'm here as the founding PS for this subsector, the micro, small, and medium enterprise development, to make sure that when you wake up in the morning, we have to bring all actors on board. And when we say all actors, I came in here when people are talking about Tangatanga government. It's not a Tanga government, it's a Kenyan government. It's a Kenyan government that is promoting and championing the interest of the Kenyan people, which bears on economic prosperity, economic development. So what are we doing in that space? For the first time since independence, we now have a home where we can coordinate the sector. And I must applaud the various players in the sector, development partners, private sector. There's quite a lot that has been happening. Unfortunately, all of us have been operating in silos. I know since independence, a lot of funding has gone to try and promote entrepreneurship, the culture of entrepreneurship among Kenyans. But the challenge is everybody does their own space, so we keep on, duplicating efforts. And when you duplicate efforts, there's not so much results and impact that we can see. So we are there to coordinate that sector of MSME to make sure that we can leverage on all resources from all actors. And in these actors includes even those who are in opposition. Because I have never seen, and because I was in opposition one time, still our rallying call in opposition in ODM was, how do we promote economic development among our people? So time has come where all leaders have to come on table, and I'm happy that this forum has also invited the chair, the co-chair of the dialogue which we are having. And I think as we invite them, what the Kenyan people, what I want as a key player now in the MSME subsector will want to see is to see to it that all our conversation are geared towards creating opportunities for our young people, for our women, and for the people of this country, who majority of them are at the bottom of the economic pyramid. There is my second point is that there is no corner of this country that has no economic value. There is absolutely no corner. And if you had any doubt, the most significant outcome of corona pandemic was that if you give individuals, even indigenous people, an opportunity to come up with solution, they will come up with solution. That's why if you look at Africa, some parts of Africa were not heavily affected or critically affected compared even to some modern and civilized societies, meaning there is something of great value that we have. So equally in this country, everywhere we go, be it in northeastern province, be it in Nyanza, be it in western, be it in coast, there is opportunity. So all we need to do as actors, all of us as leaders, we need to come together and enable our people. We enable our people with the right decision making, power to make a decision, power to choose their priorities. We enable our people with resources allocation. We enable our people by intentionally mobilizing and organizing them and directing them to where opportunities are, so that when they wake up in the morning, they can have something to put on the table. And to me, I think this should be our central focus of this great nation called Kenya. So that kind of dialogue is welcome, because until we empower people economically, we will have no people to talk about governance. You cannot talk about governance if your own stomach is not governed. Are we there? So finally, what opportunities do we have in a minute, because it's critical. The opportunity we have is that we welcome all the stakeholders. And let me announce here that I've said where my beneficiaries are in all political parties. In fact, all political parties bears the majority of my beneficiaries. Those young people who during campaigns are going to the streets in the hope of a better life, those are my customers. Those are the people that I want to come and sit down with ODM, sit down with UDA, sit down and see how we can now politically mobilize them and organize them economically. See how we can give them financing, see how we can direct them to where market is, so that at the end of the day, we start now being agents of economic development. The second bit you're doing is seeing how can we unlock access to financing. and I cannot finish without saying this, that the challenge that we have is that majority of our population were unbanked. If you are unbanked, it means you have no capacity even to walk to a bank and get credit. If you are unbanked, it means you have no social capital that can go there and become your guarantor. We introduced Hustler Fund to help correct that market failure. And a lot of us in this room could be asking, tell us, yesterday His Excellency President Ruto announced that we had a borrower who has transacted 814 times to the cumulative tune of 4.5 million. It is true. It is true, and I can confirm it is true because I have numbers, I have statistics, and they don't lie. Why is this true? Let me give you this synopsis so that, and I will end after explaining that. When we took over, when His Excellency the President was being sworn in, we had narration of Mama, for example, from Kikomba, who very early in the morning at 5 has to give her ID to some money dealer at Kikomba market, and every day that mama is given 1,000 in the morning at 5 a.m. and in the evening that mama returns that 1,000 with an additional 100 shilling. So the interest rate there you can calculate. So every day this mama goes in the morning, takes kuma wiki, goes home, sells, in the evening returns with an additional 100 on top. You can imagine the kind of business which invest in 1,000 and you have to pay for credit 100 bob as interest. Which kind of markup are you taking home? It's no wonder we have so many of our women who cannot access such financing. So Hustler Funds comes in. This mama can now borrow 1,000 bob in the morning, goes and buys the skuma wiki, goes and sells, and has 14 days to repay at 8% interest rates. Those are the kind of people that we've been supporting. So this top borrower cumulatively owns a smaller shop, which is like the Kadogo economy says those blue band, the blue band margarine of 5 bob, 10 bob. So when we started off, his limit was 3,000 bob. We enhanced one to 6,000 because he's a good borrower and repair. Every day he tells us he goes and borrow some items 6,000, he sells them, in the evening he repays, in the morning he does the same. In fact, he was telling us he has been using Hustler Fund money to bring in sugar. A sack of sugar, according to him, was costing 9,000. So every morning he borrows 6,000, he adds 3,000, 9,000 he brings in sugar because he's selling kadogo. By the end of the day, the following day, again he does the same and saves. So what I try to say, why are we doing this? And this is very important. Because now that borrower who has 4.5 million has now acquired a credible credit rating, which in the near future can walk to any bank right now and will not be asked about title book, will not be asked about logbook. On account of that credit rating, will be given the credit or the loan which he wants. So we've been able to give people collateral which they could not access. That's the major goal of Hustler Fund, because it's giving you collateral away from the conventional collateral. So the population which didn't have, just grow your credit score by borrowing 500 shillings. If you can be trusted by 500 shillings, you can equally be trusted by 1 million shillings, and so on and so forth. So it's not something that you want to really say is not happening. It is happening. It has happened. And for majority of us in this room who do not have means, who do not have property, I will tell you, we are giving an opportunity to start growing your collateral system in terms of credit rating to access you to credit in the market.
Thank you so much. Because of time.
You want to finalize for me?
Because of time.
Okay, give me a minute, I finalize. Thank you. So allow me to, or do you finalize for me? Thank you. Give me a minute. I finalize. I just say so, isn't it? Thank you. I say give me a minute, I finalize, isn't it? But if you can finalize for me, so there's no problem.
Give you another time to finalize.
No, I'm just finalizing. So, thank you so much, the organizers of this event. All I was finalizing, and it's just good manners that we finalize, right? Was to say, in such kind of a forum, when we discuss about governance, let's centralize the economic development agenda aspect, and we'll be willing to work together. My department, our ministry is open to bring on board all actors that interact with the population of Kenya. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the president and the executive arm, I cannot leave here before bringing his compliments, because he's our team leader in the executive and is going to work with you. We are open. We work for the private sector. We work for the Kenyan people. And I'm sure where we are headed, it's very bright, and Kenya will overcome all this challenge. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Another round of applause for the PS MSMEs. Susan Mangeni talking about the contribution of MSMEs to the economic transformation. She has a lot to say, and we'll have to provide another platform to do so. But thank you so much for your time. We're almost coming to an end of our program this afternoon. This other session is going to be very, very quick because we have some closing remarks from His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, former Vice President, as well as former Prime Minister Honorable Raila Odinga. But before they make their speeches, this session is going to be moderated by Honorable Gitonga Mukunji, who is the Chair, Young Parliamentarians Association, and is also the Member of Parliament, Manyata constituency. Please be fast on this one. Thank you.